Other things, though. In fact, other thing.
Mm.
This weekend, I watched John Carpenter's The Thing.
You never watched The Thing?
No.
I thought for sure we had discussed it in the
We
past.
discussed it, and when we did, I said, "Oh shit, I haven't seen that yet."
Yeah, that's a great goddamn movie.
It's more than a great goddamn movie. It's a
Okay.
fucking masterpiece, dude. It is a masterpiece. I am like late to the fucking party. Guess
About 30
what?
years, but
That
well,
movie is near perfect. It's kind of crazy.
yeah.
And it's so like um just tight and it like I didn't know that it was. I found out after the fact. I mean, like, I this was one of the times. This is one of the only times I can think of where, as I'm watching it, I want to start the making of
Yeah.
at the same time. I immediately want to see the making of
Still
because
some of the best practical effects
the
ever.
actually the best practical effects I've ever seen. Like actually, right? That just there's I'm not even gonna pretend I've seen anything holding a candle to some of that. Holding up and not just holding up, but like properly being gross. And it makes perfect sense that I'm like, hold on a second. Some of this shit, some of these melted, horrifying bodies and corpses and just deformities. I'm like, motherfucker, RoboCop. Of course, you're the same guy, right?
Yeah.
With the melting
Good
dude
old
right before,
Stan.
yeah, just like, of course, so it's like, okay, yeah, this makes perfect sense. Um, it was a remake of an older like 50s movie, apparently.
Way
Um,
older.
yeah, okay, black and white, and that makes sense because the whole whodunit nature of like a bunch of I can see a bunch of dudes in fucking Dick Tracy outfits eye each other going, "Who's the thing?" So I can kind of I can see how that gets adapted here. But what's kind of funny is every time you go back to an old classic and you get the times when you go back to an old movie and you're like, oh shit, this is an all-star cast, but it's in reverse because this is probably where they were starting and then they became bigger beyond
So
this.
no, Wilford Brimley, Kurt Russell, and
Keith David.
Keith David were all like established actors at the time, to my knowledge, especially Kurt.
Okay. Yeah, Kurt for
Um,
sure because I know they also went on to do the LA and NY Escape.
but it is kind of strange to see like really young Keith David
Yeah, I didn't
and
know
no
the cast at
mustache
all.
Wilford Brimley.
So like I was watching him as like in the group and and shit, and then he starts talking, and I went, "Whoa!" Like I had that like, "Oh fuck, it's you," that was incredible. It takes its time. It does what it needs to do. It also is interesting in that like, when you're watching like uh, I guess like the more modern things that you can detect a formula in, you can kind of feel when it's like, all right, it's been about 20 minutes. Looks like the audience needs to be woken up. We need an action scene here. In this case, like you'll hit that point where you're like, right around now is when something should start happening again or so, and then it doesn't, and it's like, no, no, we're still just trying to figure out what the fuck happened over there.
Hmm.
How the Swedes doing? Not too great. Oh, okay.
They're Norwegians, man.
Yeah. No.
Norwegians.
Take that, Swedes. Woo! um, the tensest shots of a goddamn dog just standing there ever. There's
Yeah.
never been more tension. Perhaps maybe Cujo or something, but
I think,
just a nice little husky just looking around, and you're like, ooh, ooh, what that dog do? What you up to?
and I don't know how familiar you are with huskies, but huskies are like screaming bundles
Yes.
of psycho energy. So like the fact that you have this husky just standing totally still, looking at
Yes.
nothing for like 30 seconds is like, oh, that's
They
weird.
don't do that. They don't shut the fuck up ever. Yeah, no, that thing was great. The clown shoes fucking sniping from the helicopter in the beginning is super goofy, and like those are the like 1982. I mean, there's a lot of things they're doing. They're crushing it on practical effects. Gunshot Foley is still just like, insert like wrong gun, insert like whatever into wave, and it's the same gun. It's like that's
Yeah.
all right. That's old. Um, and then of course I had to ask the question, so was there, did they do it, did they do the remake? And it's like, of course they did the CG remake in 2011.
But it wasn't a remake. It's a very weird movie.
Oh, I thought it was a remake of
So
it. Okay.
before we go on, I just want to say what stood out to me the most after all this time. I rewatched the thing like a year or two ago. It has the best shot scenes of a group of like 10 people freaking the fuck out in one room. They're
Mm,
kind of talking over each other, but they're not
mm,
like everyone's lines are distinct and you can tell what's happening, but they're losing their damn shit and they're pointing fingers. It's great.
mm-hmm.
Um the CG remake is what happened to the Norwegians.
Oh, it's a prequel. Okay.
And the saddest thing about that CG remake is they filmed the entire film with the practical effects, and the practical effects looked incredible. But a producer came down and went, "The kids like the CG. You got to
God
make it all CG." And then
fucking
they
damn
they
it.
painted over every
Oh, they're the
single
worst.
effect
They're the
shot with CG.
worst. They're so worthless. They're so unbelievably worthless. They actually did it. The people who were making this understood
Yeah,
that,
there's
like,
a rough
yeah,
cut of the movie somewhere that
if we're gonna
exists that
do
is
it,
all practical.
do it practical. Like, they actually got as far as filming it and having it done, and then some fucking asshole. Oh my god, they're the worst. Like, you're like, you're just like it's not content enough to ruin things from the jump or before they're made. You have to come along after the fact. And okay, wow, that's annoying. That's so annoying to hear that they even did it properly, and then it was
Like,
ruined.
it's
Well,
still a
anyway,
totally pointless remake because it's like a shot-for-shot recreation of the things. It's like, wow, the same events happened twice, kind of.
yeah. But
But
you do
like,
2011, you can show the kids. Well, I mean, look, yeah, that's so vexing knowing how good this was. The um the actual, like, so the practical effects are incredible. The dog split I've seen a million times referenced elsewhere, so I'm like,
yeah, you
there
saw it
we
in
go.
Parasite Eve even.
Of course, yeah, that thing is that thing's legendary. Um, but when, like, as good as all of those were, for some reason, the CPR, like, where the chest opens up, and
Mhm.
then, like, the head falls off, and then this head spider, and like, for some reason, that head melt sequence into head spider looks twice as good as the previous amazing practical effects. Like, that one in particular was just, like, unbelievably good, because, like, he was still breathing, his head was still moving, the tongue was going, and then the tentacle was coming out of it, and, like, pulling itself. So it wasn't just like the plastic, or the rubber dummy, it was still parts of him and shit. And then, like,
I
and then
think
the
that's the
deep,
most complicated shot in the whole movie.
it's unbelievable, man. And as it's going down, you're seeing that it's like, and it's then that is its own bit, and each piece is trying to survive in its own separate way, which then, obviously becomes part of what they're discussing. Like,
Because
man.
like that scene is complicated on two levels. One, the head is a robot, and the robot was attached to the body by like putty that could stretch and melt off and then controlled remotely. But before that, and it's easier to see if you're watching a Blu-ray cut of the movie. So when he does the CPR and it opens up and his arms get chopped off, what they did was they used an actor who had his arms amputated at the elbows,
Okay.
and they made a silicone mask of the doctor and had him wear it,
Oh,
and have
okay.
him switch out
Yeah,
for the 15 frames in which he's
right.
standing there going, ah, and
Yeah.
then they cut to the face shot. And then they
Mm-hmm.
start on the animatic with the fucking the robot, and then they start actually melting it so that it pulls off.
God, man, it's unbelievable that sequence. I was like fucking pogging the whole time, just at the tech, um,
I've
while
watched that
while im-
movie a
while
dozen
immersed.
times. I still can't tell in every scene who is the thing and who isn't.
Mm.
And like the one that's the hardest is like when they go see Wilford Brimley
Dude, I
in the
lost
cabin,
my
and there's a
shit.
noose just in
I
the
lost
background.
my shit. There's a noose there, and he's like, "Hey guys, hey, let me out." No, 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 it's cool, it's cool. I just want to come back in. I promise, nothing's gonna happen. I'm gonna be okay. And you're just like, you got to the point of tying a noose, and now your opinion has changed completely. Like that I died at that. So the only thing I guess is like one thing that lingers in my brain is I'm like, okay, try without looking anything else up or reading any further. And my head canon, I'm trying to piece together the idea that this animal bestial shape-shifting thing that seems to thrive and survive on just it's not exactly shape-shifting, right? It's absorption and rebirth almost.
No, it can shapeshift. It can
Well,
do anything. It
right,
just
right.
chooses not to do so unless it's threatened.
Okay. But like it's becoming things around in its environment, but it's also like eating things and then like yeah, and like or its own blood can like go inside of yours and then it can take over from there. Like yeah, but
Mhm.
it the whole thing that it's doing, I'm just kind of like, okay, this is a very like survival crazy, animalistic thing, and I'm like, picturing this piloting a spaceship doesn't make a ton of sense because it's almost like a xenomorph is great as a I'm locked in the ship and it's trying to kill me threat, but a xenomorph at the cockpit doesn't make a ton of sense. That's why you got the jockeys, right?
Mhm.
That's why you've got like the Xenos as a separate role from the actual fucking idiots that drank the sippy cup and melted themselves because they suck. Um, so in this case, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I wonder if there was another alien in that ship that was the actual pilot, and
Yeah.
it was transporting the thing, and then the thing got it, and
Yeah,
that's what
totally
went.
possible.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me. Where it's like there was a container and it was in it, and it's like okay, cool. So that wasn't the actual thing that was landing, and then something went wrong or whatever. It was probable that like it got the thing that was there. The
Do you
the
want to
actual
hear
alien.
a John Carpenter's 1982 The Thing fact, which will bum you the fuck out?
Is it confirmation of something that we don't need
No, no,
confirmation of?
no. It's that it was one of the worst reviewed movies John Carpenter ever made and bombed harder than anything else.
In theaters?
It bombed so hard, dude.
Oh
There's
man.
two reasons for that. One, it came out in 82, in
Yeah.
which everyone was like, this is just schlock gore garbage for idiots. And two was that it came out alongside E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Wow. Oh
So critics were
no.
like, I want to believe that aliens are our friends.
Oh no. Oh, that's fucking it got Call of Duty'd.
Yeah.
Damn. So that's Jesus Christ. Okay. And like you got and not only that, you got fucking Spielberg on the other end of
Yep.
your yeah, good fucking luck.
Hey, you want
Um
to take your kids to the Alien movie? How about the one that's really friendly and heartwarming and by
yeah.
Steven Spielberg?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
do you want to
yeah.
take
You
your kids to
can't.
the fucked up nightmare movie where aliens just eat your ass and turn into a dick?
Like the one that went on to become the logo of the company because it was so
Yeah.
successful. God, yeah, that's hopeless.
Oh my God, people are pointing out that it is the Horizon Zero Dawn of horror movies. Ah, I love it.
I yeah, I mean obviously like it that's fine because at the end of the day that's a drop in the ocean that is John Carpenter's career. But that's a fucking that's yeah, that sucks. And you know what? But isn't this the story of anything good almost? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there is
Isn't
a video game
anything good just kind of
adaptation.
destined to fucking not actually get what it deserves?
There's a game adaptation that came out afterwards that does like answer the question of the ending. Um,
Oh, but I didn't care. I'm like, that's a perfect ending.
so like, okay, so for many, many,
I
many
don't care.
years, people would go up to people on the thing like, "Hey, man, was Kurt or was like Keith like the thing in the ending?" And the answer was always like, "Who cares? That's the point." What a stupid question.
We're done.
The point
No,
is you don't know.
no. The story is over. It's okay. You know, it was
Um,
great, and it's just like, hey, even if any of us has a surprise for each other, I don't think we're in much position to do much about it. Then I guess we'll just wait here and see what happens. And we're out. And I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, that's great. That's not
Uh,
looking great for either of them if they're both okay. And if neither, and if they aren't, it's not much better. Like that's it.
yeah, the ending of the sorry, the beginning of the game starts out and it's like they were both totally fine.
Mm,
And Giles dies, and then Kurt Russell's character goes on to meet you later. But the
okay.
thing also lives through the events so that you can have a
So it's a
video
sequel
game.
video game.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has a
I
cool
mean,
mechanic that's executed incredibly badly. You find a bunch of people, and like you don't know if they're the fucking thing or not, and they will attack you at random at bad moments if you don't check their blood. But the
mm-hmm.
problem is whether or not they're the thing isn't decided when you get them. It's decided actually at random. So you can like save the
Oh.
game and test them and they'll be clean, and then like reload the game and they're not clean.
Nice. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I was waiting. That's the thing. As we were getting to the point where it's like, okay, shit. Now we know, and like, Wilford is kind of like he's early on the train of like we don't know who to suspect. Um, Once that's established, in my head, I'm like, okay, so what's the replicant test, right? How do we do this? Can we do it? Like, is it gonna have to be physical, or can it be done verbally? And I was kind of wondering if like I'm like it clearly knows how to socialize. It clearly knows how to call people by name and talk and act like person in setting where people are around. um would it fail a question like, hey, who's the president? you
No,
know
because it copies them perfectly.
so the information in their heads is still there.
Yeah, it is indistinguishable from the person it absorbed, other than the fact that it can turn into a dog monster if it wants to.
Okay, you can't. So then, yeah, you can't get out. You can't do it without a physical test. Okay, damn. Yeah. So then it was like the when they kind of explained the bit where it's like, okay, so the thing is trying to um, keep itself alive in all of its components, and I found that really interesting because it reminded me a lot of there's a book called The Selfish Gene
Hmm.
by Dawkins, and it kind of talks about
It
how
invented the word meme.
it goes on to it talks about the original replicator and human beings and all the different things about how we came to be and such, and or theoretically.
Memes.
And one of the things that's really interesting about it is the idea that at some point there were multicellular complex organisms that must have as we mutated to be the way we are, there
Hmm.
must have been uh, types that mutated to be multiple organs, multiple cells, and multiple like clusters of like gut biome and such and flora that
Hmm.
were keeping the same connected organism alive, but did not have a sense of self. And they're just a collection of organs. So if something went wrong, like an arm falls off, the rest of the body is not really caring about that because they're just trying to keep themselves going. And the coalition between an organism that is like, oh, it's an animal, but it has no sense of protection of no sense of self,
Hmm.
where its body stops and starts, would be super completely quick to die in a Darwinian sense, because there's no self-preservation, right?
Hmm.
Everything trying to preserve itself individually. Like if your limbs, if your body, every time something got hurt, was like, fuck that, suck all the blood out of that stubbed toe and make it fall off because we can't use it anymore. Like you'd never last, you know. So the idea of like our a sense of ID and all that shit coming from a really great trick into protecting all these pieces, it kind of comes to mind when you're like, and so the thing now, each piece is out for itself, you know, and it's because each piece is out for itself and it doesn't have that same sort of sense of completion that
Hey,
needs
my
to be
body's on
protected.
fire. Hey, I'm the head. I'm out of here.
I'm out of here, right? What's going on over there? I don't know. A tentacle's popping out of these ribs. Why? Because that thing's trying to serve itself. These arms are climbing up. They're into the rafters goes that other thing, and then the organs inside are birthing, and like all of the pieces that are like seeing the moment like fire happens, it's like, oh no, you're on fire, skin and epidermis. Everything inside is like, time for me to go. And like that's such a cool idea where like it has no sense of like trying to protect itself. It's
Has
just
no
whatever's
loyalty to
left.
its own body.
No loyalty to its own body. Whatever's on the bus is like, get the fuck off the bus. The bus is shut down, you know. And they're doing like, and like on the way out, like you know, some of them are like, hey, fucking, okay, neck and head and jaw, you guys are in? All right, cool. We're gonna go do our thing over here, you know, and each piece is like, okay, well, I guess we're gonna, yeah, huh? Eye contact, we good? All right, we're out, you know. Oh, hey, we don't have eyes. Okay, pops them out. Cool. It's such an interesting concept for a monster, more than just the shapeshifting, which is the only thing I knew about the movie prior was that it involved shape-shifting and really great
No, it's a really it's a very
effects.
strange and unique form of shapeshifting.
What a great, cool concept for that.
The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Yeah, and then your classic roster of you know, ne'er-do-wells and nerds and fucking guy who only smokes blunts for the entire movie.
Yeah.
You know, and your old cop with the gun, he's a little too twitchy, and you're like, what's your deal? Is like, why you is like, oh no, you're just a twitchy old asshole. That's it. You know, and a surprising amount of nonchalance towards like random Norwegian like with guns showing up and then shooting in their direction. You know, like they kind of stood there and went, "What is happening?" And he took his shots, and then they took him out, and then the guy's like, "Oh, you're shot in the leg. You okay?" He's like, I'm fine. You know, and they're like,
the 80s, man. It was the
yeah,
80s.
and they're like, well, I guess the idea is like, look, we're in the fucking Antarctica, right? Like, we're not gonna waste our time and resources where we, you know, in anywhere we don't need to. But yeah, don't know what's going on over there. Let's go try to help them, I guess. But you know, if you don't want to go, you want to go over there. All right, fine. Let's go find out what happened. You know.
I think what's great is that had any of them spoken even a little Norwegian, like the guys, what he's screaming when he gets there is actually fairly clear.
That's what. Let me guess. That's not a dog.
Get away from that dog. That dog is not a dog. It will kill you. Get away from it.
Great. Yeah. Cool. And clearly that's the other thing too, is like by that point you're also going like, okay, it's learned that dogs are a thing, dogs are around, and also it can hop up on you and act sympathetic to gain points, you know. So it picked up a whole lot of information in just because like there wasn't like another base beforehand, you know, or other humans beforehand. The Norwegians were the first people it encountered. Therefore, it got that much info out of that one base, you know? So when they go, estimate however many hours, and I did some quick math, and it's like 3 years before planet Earth is fucking done.
Oh, dude, you like he has a little computer simulation, right? And he's like, how long until? And you're like, oh, dude, it would be like right away if you put that you put that thing into a city, and it was just like, boop, 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 boop. Like it'd be exponential. It'd be
now, admittedly, transportation is not what it is today in the 80s. It's you know what I mean, but it would take its time, but it would still get.
Yeah, they
there.
didn't have planes back in the 80s. It was hard to move.
No,
around.
it would certainly do that, but I mean, like there's There's and the thing is too, of course, is the word getting out is so much worse as well, you know, because I mean they're radioing for help outside and trying to figure out, and there's no contact, and it's like of course they're isolated, you know, but yeah, no, when you kind of just think about like as well whatever it's absorbing, like I guess they all kind of maintain that knowledge too, right?
Yeah, it
So
gets everything.
it's an impossible thing to fucking deal with. And then the fact that it's like, oh no, the cold is good because it can preserve itself, you know.
Yeah, I'll just wait till somebody comes to check out what happened to us,
Mm-hmm.
and then somebody will dig it up and go, "What the fuck is this?"
And then like, and fire is going to temporarily delay it, but it's not really getting all of it because you have to completely and utterly get all of it, like till there's nothing left, you know.
It is to be assumed that the way they
Impossible
burned
enemy.
that place down, they actually totally got all of it.
I mean, for movie purposes, you have to take that in as what we get. What we got is what we saw.
Hmm.
But like logistically, if the blood can try to skirt away and save itself, fuck, man, it's an
Yeah.
impossible enemy. You know. Also, did Wilford Brimley like shovel an entire under shack base and create a giant escape ship in a 7 hour span?
Well, no, the thing did.
It was okay. I misunderstood that entire part then.
So
Okay.
that's what I was talking about earlier. It's really unclear as to at what like during that conversation where he's like, "I want to come back inside." Is
He's gone
he is he the thing, or is he mentally broken and the thing just comes in and gets him later? Because the thing could pretend to be Giles or whatever and open the door and just eat him.
because the fact that there was a noose there made me think, oh, Wilford Brimley himself checked the fuck out, but before he had a chance to actually do anything, it got him, and
Hmm.
then it's making a UFO in the basement. Yeah, that of course that makes so much sense because that's where it came from. That's the transportation it'd be familiar with. Motherfucker. Okay, yeah, yeah, okay. Because I'm like, how? What are you shoveling underneath there to escape? No, of course, it's what it was doing.
And then you get to argue about like how anyone got to the blood, and
Mm-hmm.
only after enough rewatches you notice that when they find Palmer, I think it is, um, like you there's a Foley effect of keys hitting the floor
Oh, okay.
because Windows drops the keys, which is what allows
Ah,
somebody to get
yeah,
the
yeah,
blood,
yeah.
and that's how the
Contaminate
doc
it.
and
Mm-hmm.
the I forget all their names. It's been a
What
while.
I was like, and then of course there's a couple of like real clear like, oh, you see like someone sneaking in the back on their own, and you're like, okay, what are they up to? And with the exception of Keith
Yeah.
David, it's pretty much a red flag there as well. What I wasn't sure about was the um, when they get Kurt Russell's jacket, or when they find it rather, like was it it was just one of them went up to his, yeah, I guess one of them went up to his shack, I guess, and then just planned for that.
Maybe.
Probably dog guy.
Or maybe Kurt Russell, like, let's ignore the video game because fuck that. Maybe Kurt Russell was part of the thing for the vast majority of the movie. No, maybe it was the thing after the fight with the thing or before the blood. Like, there's
So that's
you wanna Pepe Sylvia chart this shit. You totally can.
you can. The thing with it though is that like I don't think there was an instance of thing on thing violence, right? I don't think there was
No,
an instance where it was ever willing to, which if it did, it would be incredible, but it that we never had a moment where it was willing to sell itself out completely. It would create doubt, it would sow seeds of you know uncertainty, and like open doors, close doors, kill the lights and such. But like and I forgot the one guy who's like oh, I don't want to be trusted with the gun, the kind of chubby dude. He kind of goes like, oh, oh, and makes a noise later. um he is like calling them over when he sees something happening outside, so they're willing to play along to that degree, but
hmm.
not actually like go as far as like a thing taking out another thing, you know.
Oh, somebody in the chat points out that Palmer, as the thing, points out the spider head trying to escape.
Oh shit. Yeah, yeah, okay. Well, so that there's the head escaping. Um and again, like I said, the guy that I just mentioned, he points out something sus happening
Hmm.
outside the bunker
It's very sus.
while he's the thing as well. So there is, yeah, okay, there's implication.
Yeah, because there's an imposter among us. Are
Incredible.
you excited to have seen the prequel to the hit game Among Us?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Isolated base, no help, and one by one we all go
Windows, you're
down.
being a real sussy baka.
Although you have to fucking, you gotta stop and go, okay, so the final bit where the only ones left besides Keith David are, Kurt Russell, Old Man, and other black guy. And, like, other black guy who's been particularly panicked and cautious the entire time is now gonna go investigate a dark corner on his own.
A horror movie, man.
It's a movie. Yeah, 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 yeah. You're like, all right, all right.
I feel
He's gonna
bad
do a
for that guy
classic.
because
He's
I also can't remember his name because he's not Keith David.
Yep, yep. Um, and he was blasting the music earlier, so he was being
He gets one
inconsiderate
of my
to.
favorite moments in the whole movie where Windows is screaming at him to turn it down, and he rollerblades over to the radio and just goes to not touch it, and then
Absolutely.
rollerblades back.
And you
It's
know what
great.
he says? Can you turn that crap down? I just got shot. Very reasonable request. But yeah, no, it was just kind of funny because it's like, and now we go movie moment, like down the quiet dark alley he goes, like, and so you can yell at the camera or you can yell at the movie,
Mm.
and then you don't gotta finish the thought because you get Doc just walking with the melted face hand of the other dude, like,
Oh,
oh,
it's ooh.
the melted face hand in the bot connect, and it's like now we're starting to connect to each other. So the partial absorption, partial digestion shit.
Oh, it's
Fuck,
bad.
man. God, the
Yeah,
thing
John
rules.
John Carpenter was real worried about everything in the 80s because he does The Thing and then he did They Live, and
Mm,
They Live is just pure like paranoia nightmare.
mm.
It's also a fucking nonsense movie that doesn't go anywhere, and it's a fucking trip.
Well, but I mean, what I know about that with the whole bit with the glasses and such is like, as opposed to an isolated horror situation, this is actually it's everywhere and it's already here.
It's real like domestic terrorism-y.
Mm.
It's real
Um.
bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, uh, fucking amazing on that, and it got, and of course, it led to me just showing off again the other practical effects marvels, including like the practical effects Hulk that never got made, but they made a
Hmm.
working robot that was gonna be piloting the Hulk. And then like it was a full exoskeleton, and they had the arms and the legs and all that shit, and it's just like, man, just for the technical marvel and spectacle, I wanted to see what that would have looked like, you know. And of course, the melting Cronenbergs, right? The thing, the fly, and such. You got,
Hmm.
super amazing work there as well. But this is easily the best.
Yeah, the 80s was a wild time. It was like, I want to make something that'll make some key grip or gopher on set fucking puke their guts out while we're filming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Um,
want real barf on set.
yeah, I mean that honestly, that dog split is probably the test of whether or not people are going to walk out of the theater and over into ET.
I feel I so
Because
like
by that point, you're like one like these two movies, horror schlock, but it's not just horror schlock. It's horror schlock with a dog getting fucking split and another one melting. Which, mind you, it doesn't do the acid attack to anyone else, right? Which people have since Paul Marketing has confirmed audiences hate nothing more than watching a dog die on film. It's the number one thing they hate
this
the
was what
most.
I was talking about last week with Devil and Me. Where that whole game just turns on a dime into active resentment the instant they ask you to like stab a dog in the throat with a broken bottle.
Everyone hates it. So yeah, you think fucking ET Phone Home was gonna do a much better job in the next room over? You think the
It's
family wasn't walking out right around the time the second dog got it, while the third one was trying to bite a fence open for its own life. It's prying the fucking fence,
it's one of those things. It's tough to see the context nowadays, but if you think about it, like this is 82, right? Alien came out 2-3 years earlier, right, with the chestburster scene, and those two they're not just like gory and like fucked up by today's standards. You have to go back to like the late 70s, early 80s. It is impossible to ascertain the gut feeling of just how much more violently gory the thing was than everything else in the theater that year. It was like 1,000
Yeah,
times more
yeah,
violent than everything
yeah.
else.
I can imagine by content by comparison at that point for sure, man. But God, like in the same context as Alien, I just love a closed environment. What are the rules? Figure them out or die. Like horror situation. That exact, like I didn't know the thing was an isolated story like that. Which simplifies so much as well. But it fucking it just works, man. And I can understand why, of course, like, yeah, you fast forward all these years later and it's like that's how a lot of fucking stories get told, is just like, okay, so outside communication, cut that shit off, yada yada, but it gets harder and harder to work in a world with cell phones and satellites,
Mm-hmm. Like the thing, the thing can only take place in a pre-internet story.
Of course.
Like it doesn't make any
Of course.
sense.
Everybody taking like fucking footage of it instantly on Instagram, like, yo, look at this shit. Like, it just, yeah,
Yo, my grandma grew a bunch of tentacles.
Yeah, or just, yeah, or just like the fact that you can like do like a fucking blood test fucking prick in like 2 seconds, just pop. Cool, how's it going? Hey, hold your hand out. Ah, oh no, get him. You know what I mean? Like,
what's fun is that the thing ends up inspiring like Deep Space Nine's like best story arc, where they have to deal with shapeshifters. And the Klingons are like, hey man, you a shapeshifter? I'm totally not a shapeshifter. Okay, cut your hand. Let's look at the blood.
Oh. The shapeshifters besides...
If the blood turns into goo as soon as it leaves your body, that means you're a shapeshifter.
Shapeshifters besides, is it Odo?
Yeah, it's a whole fucking thing. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Don't worry too much about that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's not going to turn into a monster. It's just like, no, you can't maintain your shape-shifting cohesion once it leaves your body.
Yeah.
Then they start doing my favorite trick of like blood tests ever, where they'll kill a guy and then have a bunch of his blood just sitting in like a pocket, so that when they get the blood test done, they put the human blood into the vial from their shape-shifting pocket.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, interesting.
Which is why the Klingons switched to, cutting the hand.
Oh, wow, okay.
Fake this.
Yeah. That's pretty smart. Yeah, masterpiece. Fucking masterpiece, and that's all there is to it. I want to go look up all the like making of materials I can find, because it's just
hey, it's good stuff.
It's good stuff.
You get to see them like work the dog puppet, and it's like fucking wild.
No, the final form too as well was like, it was so like, I'm like, it was such a like, oh, and here's the final boss. Like, it's just like, it's like, and now you will witness my true power, and it pops through the ground, and it's like, look, it's another dog. And now you got the teeth and shit, and you're like, okay, I guess that teeth is kind of like some of its original form, or who knows, maybe that's some of the alien,
man.
or wherever it came from. But it was like clearly like it was like when Kurt was the last one left, it was like I'm a pop off just for you, you know. And then Kurt Russell gets to carry his emotional support dynamite.
Yeah.
He was picking that shit up and hugging it and just like it truly was fantastic. Okay,